Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We focus exclusively on spirituality, Vedanta, and Sanatana Dharma. Please subscribe our channel for mystical meanings of the scriptures and daily satsang. Our humble prostrations to all pervading Brahman or God, our worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananda Ji Maharaj, all sages and scriptures, and to the divinity in each of you. We are currently exploring the scripture Mysticism of Mahabharata. Commentary is by Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda and narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. So today we are going to study the episode, The Ridiculing of Duryodhana. After the glorious performance of Rajasuya Yagya that had been completed, the jealous Duryodhana lingered to further explore the extraordinary assembly hall that had been created for Yudhishthira by Maidana. Indeed, this was a most unique structure with optical illusions, making it difficult to tell the difference between water and solid floors, between open space and walls. Because of these myriad illusions, Duryodhana found himself hopelessly caught in one embarrassing situation after another as he bumped into walls that seemed transparent and stumbled into ponds that seemed like dry land. His cousins, the Pandavas, tried to guide him out of these mishaps, but found it impossible to contain their amusement. At one moment, Duryodhana lifted up his clothes, thinking he was about to walk through water, but actually he was only crossing a dry floor that shimmered like the surface of a pond. Sarcastically, Bhima said, "Look at the son of Dhritarashtra," implying that Duryodhana was acting like a blind man, since his father was indeed blind. Hearing this, Draupadi and others in the balcony roared with laughter. Although Duryodhana hid his embarrassment, he never forgot that ridicule and laughter, and it kindled in his heart a sense of revenge and a desire to see Draupadi degraded. This episode dramatizes that what happens when the intellect begins to become purer and sharper due to the practice of reflection and self-introspection. Until one learns to introspect, the intellect is dull and one is not sensitive to the negativity within his personality. Thus, life seems easy. However, when that intellect, symbolized by Draupadi, becomes adept at reflection, it learns to keenly observe the negative forces in one's personality and to laugh at the dull-witted way one is made to behave due to those negative impressions. So this is the journey from Shravana, listening of Satsanga, to Manana, reflection and introspection, to Nididhyasana, the meditation stage. In each of these stages, as we progress, we can see these subtle signs and accordingly fine-tune our spiritual practice. When intellect begins to laugh at mental complexity, life becomes much more difficult and challenging, like Draupadi did to Duryodhana. So Duryodhana becomes our vice, and in this case, we are being ridiculed by our intellect to force us to do more for our evolution. The more anger, greed, and hate that one becomes aware of within himself, the more one must strive to overcome these forces. Once the Draupadi within you has challenged the Duryodhana within you, a good fight has begun. So that is a good sign when you're feeling restless and frustrated and thinking you need to make more progress. That is a good indication that we need to accelerate our spiritual progress. Like Duryodhana, the negative forces within us do not like being observed and ridiculed. So they do whatever they can to see the intellect degraded and rendered impure. Thus, the fight cannot be won for the purified intellect and the forces of virtue until an intensive spiritual struggle has taken place. The Mahabharata war must eventually be fought to the finish. And this is the struggle of a sadhaka in his inner spiritual journey. Let's move on to the next episode, the game of dice. Seeing all the wealth and power that was evident during Yudhishthira's performance of the Rajasuya Yagya, Duryodhana and the other Kauravas became more jealous than ever of the Pandavas. Longing to see Yudhishthira stripped of all that wealth, Duryodhana eagerly heard the suggestion of the evil-minded Shakuni, his uncle, that they invite Yudhishthira for a visit and engage him in a fraudulent game of dice. With that in mind, Duryodhana went to his father and asked permission to challenge Yudhishthira to that game of dice. Although he was advised by great personalities not to do so, Dhritarashtra agreed to his son's wishes because of his intense attachment to him. He was caught by moha. Moha is intense raga and attachment. Yudhishthira accepted the challenge, although he realized that the game would be fraudulent and nothing good would come out of it. Bound by duty to obey the wishes of his uncle, Dhritarashtra, whom he reverenced like a father, Yudhishthira came to Hastinapur with the rest of the Pandavas, and the evil game began. Under the deceitful hand of Shakuni, the Kauravas won every roll of the dice, and Yudhishthira staked and eventually lost everything he owned. When all his wealth and property had been lost, Yudhishthira staked and lost even his Pandava brothers and himself, implying that they become servants of the Kauravas. In the last throw of the dice, Yudhishthira staked his very last possession, Draupadi, who was then dragged into the royal court by her hair to become a maid servant of the Kauravas. So while this seems extremely painful to watch, we will discuss more about this in tomorrow's Satsanga. This is Swami Nikhilanand. Om Tat Sat.